Hello everyone, hope all of you are doing well. Today we will start discussing on the topic cell, the unit of life. It is a very much important chapter for class 11 students and also for NEET aspirants. So basically in today's session we are going to discuss some basic information regarding this cell chapter. We will discuss about the name of some scientist who had first observed the cells or structure of cell, who has invented the cell theories, and we will also discuss on size of cells, shapes of different cells, and also type of cells. So at first, we all know that the cell is basically considered as a structural and functional unit of any organism. The cell, basically the structure of cell, or it was first observed by one scientist named Robert Hooke. So Robert Hooke was observing some cork slides. In this cork slides, he observed that there are some compactly arranged structures, such which were geometric in shape. This compactly arranged structure was tightly packed, and he named this compartment as cell. Now, I had already told you that Robert Hooke was observing cork slide. These corks are cork tissues are made up of dead cells. So, which was observed by Robert Hooke, it was basically dead cell. It was basically dead cell. So, maybe you have questions. So, who has first observed the living cells? Then the name came is Anton von Leeuwenhoek, who has first observed the living cells. Living cells. Later on, another scientist named Robert Brown. Robert Brown has first observed the nucleus of the cell. The nucleus of the cell act different important function and provide a very much important function to the cell. And this structure was first observed by Robert Brown. Nucleus. Then later on, another two scientists, Sladen and Swan. So Sladen was basically working with some plant cells, and he observed that in each and every plant, the tissues or plant tissues are formed by different types of cells. And at the same time, Swan was also working with some animal cells. And here he observed that outside each cell, there is a thin membrane, which is literally known as cell membrane. Sladen and Swan, after observing such things, they had first invented, or they had give the cell theory, cell theory. But this cell theory was further modified by another scientist named Rudolf Virchow. Rudolf Virchow basically added one more postulate with this pre-existing cell theory, and then it is known as modern cell theory. So Rudolf Virchow, when he was modifying this cell theory, he added one postulate, and this postulate says that all the cells arises from pre-existing cells. Basically, he was considering the cell division process, and to express this whole line, or he had used a phrase omnis cellula e cellula. It means all the cells has arises from pre-existing cells. Now, in this modern cell theory, we have 2 points. Cell theory has 2 points. The first point is all living organisms are composed of cells. They are composed of composed of cells and are product of cells. Product of cells. And the next point is what Rudolf Virchow has given is all cells arises from a pre-existing existing cell. Okay, this is the cell theory which has 2 points. This second point was, or second postulates were given by Rudolf Virchow, and now the theory is known as modern cell theory. Next, we will discuss about the size and shape of different cells. Size size of cells. So we know that the cells may be very smaller in size, or they can be of very larger in size, or they can be of they can have elongated structure also. So when we discuss about the size of cells, at first we have to know the smallest cell. The name of the smallest cell is PPLO, or we can also call it mycoplasma. Mycoplasma. It has a very much small size. It's basically it has the size of 0.1 to 0.3 micrometer. This PPLO, the full form of PPLO is pleuropneumonia-like organism. So, but in this PPLO, we can't find any cell wall. There is a no cell wall. The bacterial cells are also smaller in size, but PPLO are much more smaller than this bacterial cells. The bacterial cells, they are also considered as small cells, but they have cell wall. Bacterial cells has cell wall, and the PPLO or mycoplasma, they don't have any cell wall. Now, what is the largest cell? It is a it is I think each and everyone knows this. The largest cell is the egg of ostrich. Egg of ostrich. So the smallest cell is PPLO or mycoplasma, and largest cell is egg of ostrich. Now we will discuss about the shape of different cells. When we discuss about the shapes of cells, in previous classes, when we have studied the tissue system or a tissue, then we have observed different types of cells, and different cells have different shapes. So in human being, we can found that in our blood or circulatory system, when we study about the different blood corpuscles or blood cells, we can found that the WBCs in human being or other animals, we can found that the WBCs are uneven in shape, and they has nucleus, they are uneven in shape. But when we observe the red blood cells, they are biconcave in shape, and they don't have any nucleus or mitochondria. Then when we study some muscle fiber, there is some smooth muscle fiber, there is some smooth muscle fiber also. And we also found that there are some cuboidal epithelial cells which are cuboidal in shape. Okay, so and we also found that the neurons are elongated in structure. They are elongated. They form a elongated structure, and there is a nucleus. Neurons has elongated structure. Neurons. And when we observe in plant cell, we can observe that in the xylems, the parenchyma cells are uneven in shape and they has intercellular space between them. We have also observed that the guard cells which are present in a lower epidermis in dicotyledonous plant, we can found in dicot plants the guard cells of the stomata are, they have this kind of shape. But when we observe that in my monocots, when you observe monocots, the guard cells are dumbbell shaped. These guard cells are dumbbell shaped in monocots. Monocots. And we also can found in this xylem, the tracheids are elongated in shape. They are elongated. Tracheids are elongated. So we had observed that different cells has different shape, and we also observed that in the bacterial cell, the bacteria can be of rod shape or they can be of comma shape. They are known as Vibrio cholerae or comma shape. They can be of spiral in shape. Okay, so different cells has different shapes also. Next, we will discuss about the types of cells. When we were discussing on type of cell, then the cells are basically of two types: prokaryotic cells and eukaryotic cells. Prokaryotic cells and eukaryotic cells. Eukaryotic cells. So this term, the pro term means it is primitive, and this karyotic term means it is related, this term is related with the nucleus. So in this prokaryotes, we can found the nucleus is not well organized, or the nucleus is primitive in nature, not or well organized nucleus, not well organized nucleus. But in eukaryotic cells, the U means which is advanced in type, and karyotic term is related with nucleus. In eukaryotic cells, we can found well organized nucleus. Nucleus. We will discuss briefly on this the structure of nucleus in later sessions, classes also. In this prokaryotic cell, we can't found any cell organelles. Organelles basically means that the structure who are covered with membrane or membrane bound structure is known as cell organelles. So we can't found any membrane bound organism or membrane bound structure or organelles in this prokaryotic cell. No membrane bound structures. But in eukaryotic cell, we can found membrane bound structure or organelles. Organelles. The examples are endoplasmic reticulum and mitochondria, endoplasmic reticulum, mitochondria, and also in plant cells we can also found plastids. Okay. Then when we study the prokaryotic cell, we can found a non-membrane bound organelles or non-membrane bound structure, which is also found in eukaryotic cell, and it is ribosome. But in prokaryotic cell, the ribosome is 70S type, and in eukaryotic cell, we also can found this ribosome, and it is 80S. 80th type of ribosome can be found. In this prokaryotic cell, we can give examples of bacteria, and some blue-green algae also. In eukaryotic cell, we can give examples of animals, plants, etc. So we have studied about some basic information related to this prokaryotic cell and eukaryotic cell. Now we will discuss about the number of cells. As we know that some organisms which only have a single cellular structure, and some organisms such as human beings, they have multicellular structure. The unicellular structure means when some organism has only one cell, and in this by using this one cell they will complete their whole physiological process within this one cell. They has only one cell. And some organisms which are multicellular organisms, the example of who has multiple number of cells, and the advantages of having such multiple number of cells is the labor will be divided within these different types of cells. The examples is all animals, human beings, humans, plants, and the example of unicellular organism is amoeba, and there is some example of chlamydium, paramecium, also. When we was discussing on this size of cells, the size of cells can be different type, and the size of cells can be varied due to some factors such as like the metabolic activity of the cells, and then we also can conclude that the nucleus and the cytoplasmic ratio is also act as an important factor to maintain the size of the cell. Okay, so in today's session, we have discussed some basic information related to this cell chapter. Thank you.